Agent M here, also known as Pastor Mallory, the children's pastor at Northgate Wesleyan Church. And today we're talking about Joshua. It's pretty amazing how God continuously blesses him and how faithful Joshua is. We've heard about several characters so far, and it just boggles my mind how wonderful God is. But when we get to the book of Joshua, we come to find that there is a lot of violence. And I'm going to get to that in a second because I don't want you to ignore that. It's not something to overlook. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to my 3 points. But first, I think it's important that we start off with something for our little agents. Our agents who can't quite read yet, but still need to participate in the discovery of truth. So my wonderful challenge to Agent Peanut Butter and other agents who are, around her age, who have a difficult time reading, is to have somebody read chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Okay? I want you to listen to what God did in an amazing way to help them cross the Jordan River. Then, once you've listened to them read that to you, I want you to somehow find around your house 12 stones of your own. You'll see what I mean when you hear the story, but you're supposed to find 12 stones. I have 12 stones right here. I picked smaller ones, and then I want you to take them and I want you to write on them with a permanent marker something that you are thankful for, that you are thankful to God for. You can put the names of your family, the names of your friends, your animals, anything you're thankful for, and then put the year. And make sure you choose 12 of them. And then I want you to go put them somewhere around the outside of your house. You can put them in a pile so that they're all in one location. You can spread them out. It doesn't matter. But I do want you to put these stones somewhere that you may see them again, so that you can also remember all the blessings that God has given you. And also the number 12 will remind you of how God did amazing things long time ago. So that's my challenge to you littles. There you have it. With that, I am now going to jump into our 3 points and debrief on the truth that we found about Joshua that I had wonderful help with. So here we go. Let's jump into my 3 points. The first one is, as you read through Joshua in the different chapters that I suggested you read and different verses throughout the book of Joshua, I think you began to see a trend that God was preparing a place for his people. He told them that he was going to deliver them into the promised land, and it was going to be a place flowing with milk and honey. It was going to be a prosperous place. And so the book goes on to show you that that's exactly what God does. Unfortunately, the land is full of people, which means in order to take this land, they have to remove the current residents. As they proceed to go from city to city, God gives them victory every time, except for the time when they sinned and didn't do as he asked. Then they saw the consequences of not following his will, that he no longer gave them favor or victory. But other than that, he gives them victory, and eventually they conquer the land. Then they split it amongst the 12 of them. And it's pretty crazy how he does some of those. All of it's done in such a way that the people remember that the only way they were ever able to conquer any of these cities and these peoples is because God is mighty, and they could not have done it without him. They could not have made the walls of Jericho fall down just by walking around it with some trumpets. Okay? There's no way they could have done that on their own. God made it clear. You are only conquering these cities because I am giving you favor. However, that leads me into my second point, and the one that I said we're going to hit on. And that is, it should feel a little uncomfortable to you that you are reading about stories where God is telling them to take the whole city and leave nobody left alive. They're meant to go into the city and destroy everybody. That's a little uncomfortable. Is God violent? Is God cruel? Does he not love those other humans that he created? Those are questions that are okay to ask. It is confusing. And I don't know if I'm going to answer that for you right now. I do know that some scholars have noted that the knowledge of them coming made a lot of people flee the cities before they ever got there. So the ones who were left were soldiers and the armies protecting these fortified cities. But there were some people who were definitely left there who were not all military. But they did have opportunities to flee and opportunities to change. For example, we see that Rahab saw that the God of Israel was worthy of worshiping, and she was spared and recognized by Jesus for what she did when she chose to follow God. So they were given opportunity, and he did spare the ones who chose to believe in him. But it doesn't make it all feel better. It doesn't make it any less uncomfortable to hear how God would destroy everything and everyone. But I don't want you to get discouraged. It's okay to wonder and to look at that. Don't ignore it. Don't just say that was who God was in the Old Testament. That's not the God of love he is in the New Testament. That doesn't make any sense at all. God is unchanging. If he changes, that means he wasn't perfect to begin with. And he has always been perfect and always been good and has always been love. And so if those are his characteristics that we decided that was where we started, then there must be something more to this than maybe we know yet. And it's okay to be a little confused and wonder. And I don't have all the answers for you guys right now, but I do want to say that it's important that you don't ignore that there is a lot of violence here, and God doesn't really seem to advocate violence, especially through Jesus. So what is being stated here that maybe we need to recognize? One of the biggest things that I think is important to note is that Joshua's name means the Lord saves, or salvation. He was faithful, clear to his dying day. It never once tells us that Joshua turned away. Even in the time when Moses was still alive, he was faithful. And that is why God put him in charge after Moses, and he was able to enter into the promised land. Joshua believed in his God and followed him to the end. Now, that brings me to my third and final point, which is that interestingly enough, Jesus' name, if you put it in Hebrew, would be Yeshua or Joshua. And he is shown to be, as we saw before, a greater Moses, but now even a greater Joshua. Joshua was faithful, his name meant the Lord saves, and now you have who we call today as Jesus, who also could be known as Joshua, who is bringing the ultimate salvation. God gave victories to Joshua, brought them to the promised land, and blessed them immensely. But none of that even compares to the salvation that Jesus is bringing to each of us. So as you can see, all of Scripture connects to each other, and none of it sits separately from the others. Try not to set aside those passages or books like Joshua that confuse us and make us put them aside as if they're separate from what Jesus is, because all of this is a true representation of God. And if you don't understand it right now, that's okay, but continue reading, because as you begin to read about Jesus, you begin to see that there is a beautiful story here, and God's love is so evident. It's evident even in Joshua. Well, there you guys have it. That is my debrief on Joshua. So now let's discuss who's going to be next. And that character is Gideon. So be sure to wait until after this to see all the scriptures that you're going to need to look up the story of Gideon to find out the truth. And of course, as usual, if you want to receive our profile documents that have each character in it, so please email me, and my email will be showing up right here. And I will make sure to send you copies of all the profiles that we've already made and any that are coming in the future. Good luck, agents, and stay true to the truth.